combination of the philosophical debate of whether the ends justify the means, because on the one hand, she committed one of the worst war crimes in the history of humanity, kidnapping and stealing children at the age of 6 to forcibly conscript them into the military, pump them full of experimental chemicals, and then force them to become essentially cyborgs. I mean, it's very hard to think of anything less moral and ethical than that. However, on the same note, if she hadn't done that, then the Spartans would have never been created, and in turn, the Covenant would have just walked all over humanity. Like, in doing what she did, which was horrific, she also saved billions upon billions upon billions of human lives. So you gotta kind of weigh it up. At the same time, though, you gotta remember that when she made the Spartans, she wasn't doing it to fight the Covenant, she was doing it to stomp down the insurrection. It just so happened that the Covenant turned up like 10, 11 years later, and the Spartans just happened to be really good at stopping them. So she never created the Spartans with the intention of saving humanity from the alien force that doomed their extinction. She did it to stomp down rebellions, which just adds to the morally grey area element of her character. Over her time in the Halo universe, there have been elements of the story that have really like fluffed her up and made her seem like this hero of humanity. There have been other eras of the story that have been the complete opposite and have tried to demonize her relentlessly. And honestly, both are correct because, like I said, she did horrific things, but in doing those horrific things, she saved humanity, so got to kind of weigh them up. Yeah, Halsey is a fantastic, she is the epitome of a great area character, and just has to go in S+ tier. Next up, we have Jerome, and Jerome is going to go, I'd say, honestly, on par with Cutter and Anders. Jerome is essentially like the Bungie era Master Chief of Red Team and the Spirit of Fire crew. Especially in Halo Wars 2, he kind of became that silent protagonist sort of character that just spits out one-liners and does cool things, and I really like that. Of course, his Mark IV armor is beyond iconic at this point. Mark IV is a beautiful, beautiful set of armor, and I love that Jerome and Red Team still wear it. I do hope at some point in the future we get more Jerome, because there's a lot of potential there, I think, with his character, and also with the rest of Red Team as well. I don't think they're really as fleshed out as they could be. Next up, the man, the myth, the legend, Sergeant Avery Johnson. I mean, I'm going to put him just, yeah, on par with Cortana, maybe a slight bit higher. I mean, like I said for Cortana in Chief, I don't need to go into detail as to why Johnson is one of Halo's best characters. He is a badass soldier who was once a Spartan 1/Orion candidate and was one of the few long-term survivors of the Orion project. So if it weren't for Johnson, then Chief would have never really happened. David Scully's performance as Johnson is nothing short of iconic.
Usually the good Lord works in mysterious ways, but not today. This here is 66 tons of straight-up, H-E spewing divine intervention. If God is love, then you can call me Cupid.
One of the most iconic performances in the entire franchise. So much so that we haven't had any like properly new Johnson stuff in the games since 2007.
He never gets me anything.
Oh, I know what the ladies like.
And people still talk about Johnson as if he's the main character of the entire franchise still around today. He has left such a lasting impact on the franchise. It blows my mind that P43 haven't done something with him. Like, where's the Sergeant Johnson AI in Halo Infinite or something, you know? Like, there's got to be something done with Johnson.
When we meet the enemy, we will rip their skulls from their spines and toss them away laughing. Am I right, Marine? Sir, yes, sir. Damn right I am. Now move it out. Double time.
I've looked at David Scully's work recently, and I don't know if he like retired from voice acting or something, but he's not done much in a long time, and I'd love, I don't know, I'd just love to see him come back as Johnson at some point. I think he was going to for Halo Wars 2, but because of like scheduling conflicts or something, or some other reason, he couldn't come back as Johnson. But man, Johnson is just the charisma.
How you doing?
The personality, the balls of pretty much the entire UNSC. This man is the personification of that. He has so many badass one-liners, badass moments, heroic moments. He goes out an absolute hero, making sure that Spark goes down. Just an incredibly, one of the best Halo characters of all time. One of my top 3-4 favorite characters of all time, and one that I miss so dearly. Oh, real quick, whilst we're on the topic of Johnson, I just want to give a massive shout out to the story Breaking Quarantine from the Halo graphic novel, which tells of how Johnson survives the ambush by the Flood in 343 Guilty Spark. This graphic novel portrays how he was the only survivor of that event so damn well. It has such a sick Japanese aesthetic to it that I absolutely love. Very underrated Johnson story, but overall, like I said, Johnson is just near perfect character, and I miss him so much. I want more Johnson, played by David Stiller.
Thank you.
Next up, we have George, one of the 3 members of Noble Team that I'm going to put into S tier, below Emil. George was the BFG, the big friendly giant of Noble Team. He was the biggest Spartan. He was the only Spartan 2 in Noble Team, which is partly why he met his unfortunate end when he did. He's fantastic. Of course, I've got to give credit because he's a British Spartan, right? Or he's not British, but he's got a British accent. I've got to give him credit for that. But I love the more empathetical moments of George's character. When he speaks to civilians in Hungarian or talks that girl down from being scared from the zealots in Hungarian as well. I love the little moments of humanization like that. They really help George stand out above the rest.
Your accent sounds familiar. Chaperon?
Tangari,
Friend of yours?
father.
Sha'ainalong. I'm sorry.
Why would you be?
Big man forgets what he is sometimes.
She just lost her father.
I think if you were to like take an average ranking of every member of Noble Team across like every person that played Reach, George would probably rank the highest. But for me, he's the second highest because Emil is just untoppable for me. I love Emil too much, but I love George's character so much. His end, like I said, very sad, very unfortunate.
Listen, Reach has been good to me. Time has come to return the favor. Don't deny me this.
It's the first shock of Reach seeing him actually die because obviously Spartans never die, right? But then only like 5 missions in, we see one of the main characters, a Spartan, die. But yeah, fantastic humanization of the Spartans, fantastic voice work by, I forget the guy's name who voiced him, but fantastic voice work. If by some insane stretch of the imagination we ever get George in a live action thing, this is going to sound really obscure, but I'd love to see Timothy Dalton play him. For some reason, George has always reminded me of Timothy Dalton. I think Timothy Dalton would play a fantastic George, but yeah, I love George, second favourite member of Noble Team. No, he's not. He's my 3rd favourite member of Noble Team because my 2nd favourite is June A266, the last surviving member of Noble Team. I love how kind of quiet and reserved June is. You just get this sense of like, I don't know what the word is, maybe like elitism or something from June. He knows that he's one of the best at what he does.
Here, you may need these. High velocity, armor piercing. You'll take the hat off an elite at 2,000 yards. And they ain't cheap.
He's one of the most talented snipers in the entire UNSC. He knows it. He's got such a fantastic voice actor as well.
Whole area is supposed to be evacuated.
Didn't like leaving it to someone else to protect our home, so we came back. For this. We have them hidden all over the territory.
You know, this stuff is stolen.
What, you gonna arrest me?
No, I'm gonna steal it back.
And I love the fact that he actually survives Reach and goes on to become a recruiter for Oni for the Spartan 4 project, which I think is very fit for his character. He does look quite a lot like Agent whatever his name is from Hitman now for some reason, but there's a very small part of me that hopes at some point in the future we might see June put his armor back on and become a fighting Spartan again and get a story or something with him in it. There was a very little part of me that was hoping in Halo Infinite we were going to see June, because obviously there's quite a lot of references to Noble Team in that game and Reach in general, and June is still very present. I mean, granted, he is technically in the game in some of the Season 2 lore text file things. June's in them, so he's still very present in the story. As present as he's been since Reach, in fact. But I really want to see him put the armor on again and fight again. I'd love to see June and Chief back-to-back fighting. That'd be fantastic. Also, another very underrated bit of June's character, although it's technically not canon, it's close to being canon as something can be without being fully canon. A Fistful of Arrows, the story that tells of how he escaped Reach on his own and saved Halsey, is just absolutely fantastic. Leviathan did a great job on that. If you haven't read it, then I'd highly recommend it. But yeah, I love Jew character so much. Just that sense of elitism about his character. He knows that he's one of the best marksmen in the entire military, and he's not afraid to show it off. Next up, we have Kat, who is my probably 4th favourite member of Noble Team, I'd say, maybe 4th. She's going to go above Carter in A tier. I like Cat. I like how kind of cocky Cat is.
A good place to look might be, I don't know, the nearest non-existent launch site and the non-existent Saber program dismissed by 3 administrations as preposterous rumor, and in which our newest member was certainly never a pilot.
You're scary. You know that.
It's the same kind of thing with June, where June is like kind of elitist in a way. I still don't know if that's the right word. Something like that. But like you can tell with June, he knows how good of a sniper he is. With Kat, you can tell that she knows how intelligent she is, and she's not afraid to not show off, but she's not afraid to be confident with that, which I think is very, very cool.
You're in my light, Commander.
Of course, her death is probably on par with George in being the most iconic of Noble Team's deaths. Just the random needle shard was so unexpected. There was no foreshadowing or anything for it. Of course, there is the fact that the brains of Noble Team get shot in the brain. That's like the whole ironic thing of Noble Team, which I really like. But yeah, I like Kat's character quite a lot, but she's tied 4th, I'd say. Next up, we have Kelly, my, again, least favorite member of Blue Team, but Blue Team was so sick, she's still going S tier. I really like Kelly, awesome British Spartan. She wins a point for that from me. The fastest Spartan to ever exist. I believe I think it's in Fall of Reach. There's a bit where during training she gets up to like 90 kilometers an hour sprinting or something, which is frankly ridiculous. It was something in that ballpark, which is a very cool trait for a character who's wearing 1-ton power armor. Yeah, I really, really like Kelly, but out of all the members of Blue Team, she's the one that I love the slight bit least. Captain Jacob Keyes is also going to go into S tier around, I'd say, just decisions. About there, actually. You know what? I'm bumping my ranking up. A bit better than George. I really, really, really like Keyes. I actually re-listened to the Cold Protocol for the first time in quite a long time recently, and it reminded me of how much I love Keyes, more than just Halo 1 did. All of the stuff that he does in the Cold Protocol, leading the Midsummer Night and getting involved with the insurrection in that book was really good. And then, of course, his leadership of the Pillar of Autumn in Halo 1, and also to a degree Reach as well, was really good. Hearing the Pete Stacker playing Keyes again in Infinite, first time I saw that cutscene, when he's talking, a flashback where he's talking to Halsey, was like, I was like, what the, that's not Pete Stacker, and it was Pete Stacker, and I was very, very happy.
But you made an AI of yourself. Yourself.
Is there a better candidate?
Keyes is, for me at least, one of the most iconic and most Halo characters, and out of all the characters in the entire franchise, he probably met the most grisly end out of all of them, becoming the basis of a proto-Gravemind and having the Flood sift through all of his thoughts and memories and twisting and contorting them and trying to use them to its advantage is